לזכות אחינו ובנות ישראל in בארץ הקודש, dedicated by החפץ בעילום שמוי. Please help us grow this Geschmack show by subscribing using the link in the show notes. Thank you. In the city of Kremenchuk, there was a group of well-known Chassidim who all had the name Ber as part of their name. Amongst them, the famous Chassid Rebbe Moshes, Rebbe Masayev, and the figure of our episode, Reb Chaim Ber Vilansky. They were therefore called the Kremenchuker Berelach. Chaim Ber Vilansky was born in Kremenchuk, and despite the fact that his parents were not wealthy, they were not well-to-do, they spent much money on hiring the best melamdim for their son, and he did not disappoint. He had great kishrenes, was very much matzliach. When he was about 18 years old, he got married, and soon after his wedding, he traveled to Lubavitch to spend time as a yeshiv by the Rebbe Maharash. Unfortunately, a short while later, his wife passed away, and he came back during the Shiva. He then remarried with another woman who was a widow, and he had a few children from her. It is told that once Reb Chaim Ber made a bris, and since he was Migdolei Chassidim in Kremenchuk, and he was known to be a Peh Mafik Margolies, was a great speaker, so a big crowd of Chassidim came to the bris. Fabrengen went on for many hours, and when they ran out of mashke, they asked Reb Chaim Ber's brother-in-law, Reb Noach Shenes, that he should go to the basement and get a few more bottles of wine. So Reb Noach said, okay, I'll go get a few bottles of wine on condition that all the Chassidim present at the Fabrengen will promise me that I will have a Ben Zachar. Now, he did not have any children, and it's been already 18 years. So the Chassidim, who were all after a little bit of L'chaim, gave him the promise. They will have a Ben Zachar. So he went to the basement, he got the wine, and the Fabrengen went on until the morning. A short while later, Reb Noach's wife became pregnant after not having children for 18 years. So Reb Noach traveled to the Rebbe Maharash, and he told him the great news. The Rebbe Maharash's face turned red, and he said, since it was done at a Seudas mitzvah, I agreed that it should be a Zara Chaya V'Kayama. Eventually, she gave birth to a son, and they named him Binyamin, who was later known as the Tomim Binyamin Shenes. Anyways, back to Reb Chaim Ber. Unfortunately, eventually his second wife also passed away. And a few years later, around the year of Tafresh Lamed Zayin, he got married with his third wife, who was actually advised by the Rebbe Maharash to marry her. And the Rebbe Maharash himself was the Mesader Kiddushin at the wedding that took place in Lubavitch. Reb Chaim Ber was a Pnimius Dike Chassid that very much stayed away from showing any signs of his pilus externally. During the week, his davening took about an hour, and on Shabbos and Yom Tov, his davening took about 2 hours. His davening was with great intensity, but without any external motions. The Rebbe Rashab once said about Reb Chaim Ber's Yom Kippur davening that the taste of his davening is in my stomach till this day. He had a rich davening, reich gedavent. Chassidim say that on Leil Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah, Reb Chaim Ber will be very much meirich in his davening, and in general, those 2 nights of Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah, he'll be completely out of his scalim, unlike the rest of the year. His dancing was with great intensity, and to an extent that not always people were able to handle his ispilus on those nights. One year, he closed himself up in a room and danced by himself. The Fidik Rebbe spoke about Chaim Ber once in a Fabrengen, and he said, the Chassid Reb Chaim Ber from Kremenchuk was a maskil niflo and had a great mind. He had a great hafla, and it was a big amken. The Fidik Rebbe continues, my father-in-law, which was Rebbe Avram Schneerson from Kishinev, so my father-in-law once told me, says the Fidik Rebbe, that Reb Chaim Ber once came to Kishinev to buy wine. He went to the Seicher's home, but the Seicher wasn't home at that time. So Reb Chaim Ber was misamik in a Inyan Chassidus until the Seicher will come home. Eventually the Seicher came home, and when he saw Chaim Ber, he asked him, Chaim Ber, how are you? But Reb Chaim Ber didn't answer because he was deep in the Inyan Chassidus that he was thinking. But the Seicher, which didn't really have a chush in Ha'amaka, didn't really understand why Chaim Ber wasn't answering him. So a while later, he asked him again, Chaim Ber, how are you? This time, Chaim Ber woke up from his thinking, and he answered him. Then Chaim Ber asked him, could you please show me the sink? I need some water. So when the Seicher showed him the sink in his house, Chaim Ber wondered, why did the sink move locations? What happened? Because of his ha'amaka and chassidus, with his many hours of his beinunus, he completely forgot that he even traveled to Kishinev. And he thought that he's in his own home. And in his own home, the sink was at a different location. So he was wondering why the sink changed locations. Chaim Ber and a few other Bavuste Chassidim from Kremenchuk were Talmidim of the Chassid Reb Baruch Tamars, was the spiritual leader of the Chassidim in the town. After Baruch Tamars passed away, so his Talmidim decided that the leadership of the Chassidim should be divided between his three great Talmidim, Chaim Ber Vilansky, Berel Marseyev, and Berel Dovruskin. And they made up that these three Chassidim will take turns saying Chassidus. Each Shabbos a different one will say Chassidus. The Rebbe Rashab once said that I asked Chaim Ber if he writes any Chidush Torah, and he answered that he doesn't. And when I asked him why he doesn't, he answered, because I don't want to. And the Rebbe Rashab then said that by Chaim Ber not wanting to, that was a strong answer. The Rebbe Rashab's brother, the Razah, once related, once I wanted to get to know the Maskilim who were in Lubavitch. I therefore asked each one of them, when they will come to visit Lubavitch, to chazer Maimer Chassidus in front of me, first in front of me, and then they will chazer the Maimer to my father, the Rebbe Maharash. When it was Chaim Ber's turn, when Chaim Ber came to visit Lubavitch, and I asked him to chazer a Maimer, he refused. He refused until my father himself told him to. Only then he agreed, but on condition that he wouldn't have to also chazer the Maimer in front of the Rebbe Maharash. Only in front of me. However, my father, the Rebbe Maharash, very much wanted to hear his chazara, so they arranged that the room where Reb Chaim Ber will chazer the Maimer should be the room that's right next to the garden. And they positioned Chaim Ber's chair right next to the window, and they set up a chair for my father, the Rebbe, to sit right outside and listen. But as soon as Chaim Ber noticed that, he went and shut the window. Despite the fact that Chaim Ber was a reserved person and didn't really show off on the outside his emotions, but one exception to that was his passion and love for Negina, for Nigunim. He himself was a Baal Menagen, and anybody, in order to become one of his circle of friends, you needed to have a chush in Negina. There was once a poor man who came to collect money in Kremenchuk, and when Chaim Ber overheard him davening and noticed that this man has a chush in Negina, he took him under his care and provided him with all of his needs, so he doesn't have to go around collecting anymore. The Frierdiker Rebbe once related in a Farbrengen that the Chassid Reb Zalman Zlatopolsky once heard a Maimer from the Rebbe Maharash in Yechidus. And in the middle of that Maimer, the Rebbe Maharash explained that which Rabbi Lezer would give a pruta to a poor person before davening, and only then he will daven. And the Rebbe Maharash said, by the Maimer, davening has to be with a chayus. And when we give tzedakah to a poor man before davening, and we give him chayus, begashmius, it adds a lot of chayus in the davening. And the Rebbe Maharash made a tenua with his hands, showing hamshocha milamayla lemato. So when Reb Zalman Zlatopolsky came back home, they made a chassidish bruchim abayim farbrengen in his honor. And at that farbrengen, Reb Zalman chazered what the Rebbe Maharash said in Yechidus, that when we give a yid chayus begashmius, we give him something to eat, then the schar is begashmius uberuchnius. So when Chaim Ber heard that, he took that saying of the Rebbe Maharash bipnimius, and from then on, he made for himself a seder that every morning before davening, he would serve for bison to the people in shul before davening, so they have what to eat right after davening. And the Frierdiker Rebbe concluded this by saying that my father, the Rebbe Rashab, said that the Pnimius Dike Mesido Nesina of Chaim Ber to the Rebbe Maharash, that is what gave him his atzlocha ba'avodas amoyach va'alev. At another opportunity, the Frierdiker Rebbe related that once Chaim Ber told the Rebbe Rashab 21 mishalim on the inyan of Oren Soif. And then the Rebbe Rashab said that for 16 of those mishalim, I found a mocker in Chassidus. And for the rest of the mishalim, first I thought that Chaim Ber took them from the Ma'amorim of Rabbi Isaac Homeler. But then after a few days, I realized that these Mishalim were actually a result of Chaim Ber's own hisbonenus. At a different opportunity, the Fidik Rebbe related, once, when I was a little boy in Cheder, so once on my way home in a hot summer day to eat lunch in the middle of the day, I was running through the Chotzer, and I bumped into Reb Chaim Ber. Chaim Ber asked me to show him the way to the garden which was behind my parents' home. So I showed him the way, and I followed him to see what he would do. So at the entrance of the garden, there were a few benches. So Reb Chaim Ber sat down on one of the benches, took off his hat, and that's it. So I went home. 7 in the evening, I came back to the garden with a few of my friends to hang out, to spend some time there. So when we came, we found Chaim Ber sitting exactly at the same position that I left him there 5 hours ago. And my childish mind couldn't understand how could a man sit a whole day and just think. I have seen people sitting a whole day and learning, but to see a man sitting a whole day and thinking, that's something that wondered me. We'll play now the Niggin, the Bavusta Niggin from this group of Chassidim from Kremenchuk called the Kremenchuker Berelach, sung by Reb Zalman Bronstein from Kfar Chabad, the way it is on the Michoyach record.
Amen.